He was Iowa State's only NFL draft pick this year, and now Dominique Orange is eager to show the Vikings what he's capable of as a pro. Orange told reporters during rookie minicamp that it's all been
The illegal strength of Dominique Orange, Minnesota's secret weapon, has the NFC absolutely terrified. Stop what you're doing right now. Seriously, put down whatever you're holding, because what we are about to break down on Court Vision Plus is the kind of story that does not get told enough. The kind of story that gets buried under the noise of the NFL's biggest markets while something genuinely historic is being quietly assembled in the frozen tundra of Minnesota. This is not a story about heartbreak. This is not a story about wait until next year. Lord knows Minnesota fans have heard that phrase enough times to make grown adults weep into their hot dish. No, this is a story about a franchise that has coldly, methodically, and with absolutely surgical precision put together what may be the most complete roster in the entire National Football League.
Design quarterback run. No room for Avery Johnson. Grab to the ankles.
I think, Gus, that they need to get him more involved in the run game.
The Minnesota Vikings are not sneaking up on anybody anymore. They are kicking the door clean off its hinges, and the rest of the NFC, every single one of them, they are terrified. And they should be. Let's set the scene first, because context matters here. Minnesota sports just went through one of those brutal stretches that only Minnesota sports can produce. The Wild packed it in early. The Timberwolves, despite flashes of genuine brilliance, sent their fans home disappointed once again. The city of Minneapolis was sitting under that all-too-familiar cloud, that heavy gray sky of what could have been, that soul-crushing near-miss energy that Minnesota fans have been breathing like oxygen for decades. And we are talking real decades here. The last time a men's professional sports franchise from the state of Minnesota hoisted a championship trophy, the Twins did it in 1991. 1991. That is 35 years of hunger. 35 years of almost. 35 years of heartbreak so specific and so painful that it has essentially become its own genre of suffering. If there were a streaming service dedicated exclusively to Minnesota sports trauma, it would have more content than Netflix. But something is different this time. Something in the air around Winter Park has genuinely shifted, and if you are sleeping on the 2026 Minnesota Vikings right now, you are going to wake up somewhere in the middle of October wondering what on earth just happened and how you missed all the signs. It starts with a man who does not get nearly enough credit, and frankly that might be exactly why he is so dangerous. Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator who walked into the absolute wreckage of the worst defense in the entire league back in 2022 and transformed it into something that opposing offenses have actual nightmares about. We are not dealing in hyperbole here, so let the numbers do the talking. Under Flores, the Vikings defense ranked second best in the entire NFL. Second best in the whole league. And understand this, whatever happens with Minnesota's offense in 2026, whatever drama unfolds at the quarterback position, whatever storylines develop along the offensive line, that defense is already built well enough to win a Super Bowl.
After the playlist was done, what you guys don't know is, I walked up to Kenny in front of the entire group and said, "This is a challenge to you."
Read that again and let it marinate. Super Bowl caliber defense, and it is only getting better. Last season, even when the offense was sputtering and misfiring like a beat-up jalopy, even when the quarterback situation was a genuine disaster that had Vikings fans questioning their life choices, Brian Flores kept this entire ship afloat through sheer defensive brilliance and the kind of tactical excellence that deserves way more national recognition than it receives. The numbers were not just good, they were staggering. 7th in points per game allowed. 2nd in yards per game. 3rd in yards per play. 2nd in sack percentage. And then, when the stakes were at their absolute highest in the final 6 weeks of the regular season, this defense did not just hold up under pressure. It became something otherworldly, something that had offensive coordinators across the league drawing up plans in the middle of the night and still coming up empty. 1 passing touchdown allowed in the final 6 weeks of the regular season. 1. During that stretch, this defense was going up against Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jaden Daniels. They went on the road to Seattle to face the reigning Super Bowl for total touchdowns allowed across 6 games. That is not a defense. That is a brick wall with teeth and a very bad attitude. Since the moment Flores arrived in the Twin Cities, he has constructed the league's second-best defense by EPA per play, trailing only the Cleveland Browns, a franchise that has somehow managed to build a phenomenal defense with absolutely nothing tangible to show for it. And right there is the critical difference between Cleveland and Minnesota. Flores just made his side of the ball even more dangerous by addressing the one legitimate weakness on that defense, the run game. The Vikings went into the NFL draft and attacked the interior of their defensive line with the kind of precision that makes general managers around the league genuinely uncomfortable. They grabbed nose tackle Dominique, one of the most physically gifted and technically sound run stuffers available anywhere in this draft class, and the moment you watch this man play, the moment you see the leverage, the first step quickness, the ability to occupy 2 blockers simultaneously while still making plays in the backfield, you understand immediately why the word illegal keeps coming up in conversations about him. His strength is not normal. His ability to anchor against double teams and still generate push is the kind of thing that college offensive linemen describe in therapy sessions after the game. Dominique is not just a draft pick. He is a statement. He is the Vikings telling the rest of the NFL that they are serious about finishing what Flores started. And right alongside Orange, they added Caleb Banks, a pass rusher whose ceiling has scouts and analysts drooling in ways that are genuinely uncomfortable to witness. Banks has the kind of motor and athleticism that you simply cannot teach, the kind of first step off the line that makes tackles panic, and the bend around the edge that has defensive line coaches already comparing him to players who have been to multiple Pro Bowls. Combined with edge rushers Dallas Turner and Van Ginkel working the perimeter, this defensive front is shaping up to be the most feared unit in the entire NFC. If this defense can ascend to top 5 against the run in 2026, and with these new additions that is not a prediction, that is a reasonable expectation, then we are genuinely talking about the best defense in the entire National Football League. Not top 5. Not top 3.
Design quarterback run. No room for Avery Johnson. Grab to the ankles.
I think, Gus, that they need to get him more involved in the run game.
The best, full stop, end of conversation. But here's where this story shifts gears and gets really, truly, deeply interesting, because a monster defense only carries you so far. At some point you need a quarterback, and for the last 2 seasons the Minnesota Vikings have been trotting out quarterback play that was, to put it as charitably as possible, catastrophic. Despite receiving some of the worst quarterback production in the entire league last year, finishing dead last, 32nd, in touchdown to interception ratio, and 31st in sack rate, this team still somehow clawed and scratched their way to a 9-8 record. 9 wins with the worst quarterback situation in professional football. 9 wins with a signal caller situation so dysfunctional it made fans genuinely consider whether competitive shuffleboard might be a more fulfilling way to spend their Sundays. Just sit with that for a moment. 9 wins. With that, now imagine what this team looks like with an actual, functional, dangerous quarterback. Now imagine what it looks like with Kyler Murray under center. Yes, that Kyler Murray. The former number 1 overall pick. The dual threat weapon of mass destruction. The man who spent years in Arizona making defensive coordinators lose sleep before injuries derailed what was shaping up to be a genuinely special career. And here is the part of this story where it transitions from interesting to absolutely unbelievable, because the Arizona Cardinals, in what will go down in NFL history as one of the most stunning organizational backfires in recent memory, are literally still paying Kyler Murray. The Cardinals are cutting checks for a quarterback who is suiting up in purple and gold and preparing to dismantle their NFC competition. Minnesota acquired Murray for just $1.3 million while Arizona absorbed the remainder of his $37.6 million contract. The Arizona Cardinals, ladies and gentlemen, are paying Kyler Murray to go on a revenge tour for the Minnesota Vikings. You absolutely, genuinely, cannot make this up. It is the kind of front office move that makes you stop, lean back in your chair, and just slow clap for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and everyone in that Minnesota front office who figured this out otherwise. Murray has missed roughly 25% of all career starts due to injury. That is a legitimate variable that anyone building projections around this offense has to account for. But here is what we also know with absolute certainty. When Kyler Murray is healthy and locked in and playing with confidence, he averages approximately 4,000 passing yards and 30 combined touchdowns per 17 starts, while adding around 600 rushing yards that stress every single defensive game plan ever constructed against him. He is electric. He is dynamic. He is the kind of player who makes plays that have no business working, that defy physics and preparation and common sense, and they work anyway because Kyler Murray is doing them. And he is walking into the most loaded offensive supporting cast of his entire career. Let's talk about this offense, because what Kevin O'Connell has assembled around his new quarterback is so absurd that it almost feels unfair to the rest of the conference. Justin Jefferson is not simply a good wide receiver. Justin Jefferson is a generational talent, a once-in-a-decade player who makes veteran cornerbacks question their career choices on a weekly basis, who creates separation in Wade. The Vikings' number 2 receiver is the kind of weapon that would be the clear-cut number 1 option on at least 15 other rosters in this league. The separation he creates, the route precision, the big play ability, is everything an offensive coordinator dreams about when drawing up plays at 2 in the morning. And then there's Juwan Jennings. 6 feet 3 inches of pure physical nightmare working out of the slot. Big, fast, strong, difficult to jam at the line, impossible to bring down after the catch without an ideal tackle attempt.
All righty, less than 24 hours from the NFL draft, and the Chiefs currently have 2 first-round picks, 9th and 29th overall. A Metro player with a fabulous nickname could hear his name called by the Chiefs on day.
Many evaluators across the league are already calling Jennings the best third wide receiver in the entire NFL, which means he is the best number 3 in the sport, which means the Vikings' wide receiver room from top to bottom is the premier group in professional football. Not top 5. Not top 3. The best wide receiver room in the National Football League. And that is before you even begin to discuss a tight end room headlined by Josh Oliver, a running back committee featuring the physical downhill running of Jordan Mason paired with the veteran receiving versatility of Aaron Jones, and an offensive line that when healthy and firing on all cylinders is one of the most formidable units in the entire NFC. Kevin O'Connell is entering his 5th season as the head coach of this franchise, and he still has yet to secure his first playoff victory. The drought is real. The scrutiny is building. With this roster assembled around him, there is genuinely no excuse left, no remaining justification that holds up under examination for why that playoff win drought should continue into another year. The pressure is on in the best possible way. Minnesota has not had a championship since 1991. The pain that comes with that sentence that nobody asked for. But this moment, right now, this 2026 roster is the closest this franchise has been to a genuine, legitimate, top-to-bottom Super Bowl contender in the better part of 3 decades. The defense is a wrecking ball with discipline and sophistication. The offensive weapons are as good as anywhere in the sport.
What are these draftees going to be in particular? No idea. We're not really going to get an indication until training camp. Although I was thinking about this more, Dave, and I think you're definitely right about Dominique.
The quarterback is walking in with a chip on his shoulder roughly the size of the entire state of Arizona. The coaching staff is entering the season with their backs against the wall and something deeply personal to prove to themselves, to each other, and to a fan base that has been waiting since before most of the players on this roster were born. That is a recipe. That is a formula. That is the construction of a team that is about to make serious, sustained, undeniable noise in the most competitive conference in professional football. The sleeping giant has awakened. The NFC is officially on notice. And if you are not paying close attention to the Minnesota Vikings right now, if you are letting the ESPN Power Plus need you to show up, we just broke down everything: the Dominique Orange factor, the defensive transformation under Flores, the Kyler Murray gamble of the century, the best wide receiver room in football, the brutal schedule, and the championship window that is open right now. So drop a comment below and tell us what you actually think. Can the Vikings make the NFC Championship game in 2026? Are you fully locked in as a Kyler Murray believer, or does that injury history still keep you up at night? Is Brian Flores the most underrated defensive mind in the NFL? We want every single take, the hot ones, the cold ones, the unpopular ones, all of it. If you are right analysis, a single dramatic twist as this season unfolds. We are going to be with you every step of the way through what could genuinely be the most electric, most meaningful, most championship-worthy Viking season in a generation. Skol Vikings. Let's go get that ring.
Design quarterback run. No room for Avery Johnson. Grab to the ankles.
I think, Gus, that they need to get him more involved in the run game.
2nd and 8 at the